The following program is the work of broadcast students from the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the past week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Today on BCIT Magazine, hockey is back after a 113-day lockout. But some disappointed hockey fans are showing their anger through social media, while others are being recognized for their acts of bravery. Hello and welcome to the first BCIT Magazine of 2013. I'm Nicole Lobo.
And I'm Rup Dosanjh. It's what sports fans have been waiting for since October. After a 113-day lockout, hockey is finally back.
The NHL and the Players Association stopped butting heads and signed a deal ending the lockout. But many are still wondering what all the fuss was about to begin with. Our reporter Nigel Haynes took a look at the issue.
He took it to almost the 11th hour before striking a deal to save the season. The gains made were gains that other sports have gotten without the need for lengthy lockouts. While Bettman might have been a useful wartime general, the NHL's gambit now must follow the path of peace.
For Vancouver sportscasters like Matt Sekeres and Blake Price, the hockey lockout has been a frustrating 4 months, but these were the words they were waiting for.
We have reached an agreement on the framework of a new collective bargaining agreement.
All that means is that the lockout has ended. Price gave us the rundown on the issues behind the work stoppage.
Well, we had a large piece of revenue pie that was being given to the players in a far greater amount than the owners found necessary.
The new contract covers 8 years and brings the players' cut of the salary down to 50-50 with the owners. Fans, though, say they find it difficult to sympathize with either side in the lockout.
When the rich are complaining about how not rich they are, even though they're really rich, I could care less.
You have a relationship with your fans, and if you lose someone's trust, it does take time to earn it back.
Canadians will come back to watch hockey. It's our life. We have to.
But the big questions remain unanswered. Have the major players in hockey really learned anything from this? And will we see another lockout once this contract is up?
I mean, I don't think that they have learned enough of a lesson yet to suggest that they would want to keep going after that. Why not lock out and just demand the sun, the moon, and the sky and see if you can get the best possible playing conditions once again?
The lockout's over, and with the prospect of a game in the next couple of weeks, disappointed fans have a little something to look forward to. Nigel Haynes in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
With the NHL lockout over, it's obvious that some fans are excited to see their team back on the ice. But as my co-anchor Rup Dosanjh found out, not everyone is rushing back to buy tickets.
Rogers Arena has been quiet during the 113-day lockout. However, there is one group that is determined to show their frustration. Just Drop It is an online petition that's asking fans to boycott NHL games. So far, the page has almost 23,000 likes.
You take 20, I'll skip the next 20. Just drop it.
Just drop it.
Just drop it.
The video has almost 85,000 views on YouTube.
1,000 people after the lockout ended joined us. And that was a big statement because before the lockout ended, they couldn't see what the boycott really meant.
Local sports media can understand where fans are coming from.
I'd be all for a fan boycott. Just one game. Have them play in front of empty buildings, I think would just send a great message.
Despite all the frustration, it doesn't seem like fans will be staying away for too long.
I just want to see the games, and I'm sure that it will be awesome, to see the games again.
I think the fans will be overjoyed once the players get back on the ice.
Fans aren't going to stop going. They're not going to stop buying the merchandise. They're not going to stop buying the pay-per-view games. They're going to still do all that, especially if your team's good and people, when they get caught up in it.
If somewhere along the line they would have come out and said, hey, we're sorry, we know this is ignorant. We know this is obnoxious. We know we're sitting here fighting about your money. We know that. We're aware of that. We appreciate you. But they didn't even consider us. They just know that we're going to come running back.
The Canucks team store is usually bustling with hockey fans buying merchandise, but not today. With a new tentative agreement reached between the NHL and the Players Association, it'll be interesting to see how fans react now that hockey may be back. Rup Dosanjh in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine. There's some more good news for hockey fans in Vancouver. According to some predictions, the Vancouver Canucks could win it all this season. The Bleacher Report pits the Blackhawks against our home team.
But the Canucks have a long way to go before the playoffs. Joining us now with a better idea of what the lockout shortened season means for Vancouver is reporter Neil Correa. Neil?
Well, Nicole, the big buzz not only around the Canucks, but also the NHL overall is the future of Roberto Luongo. Now, training camp starts fairly soon, but it's tough to say if he will get traded before the start of the season. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs have been interested in Luongo for some time, but the major news surrounding their franchise on Wednesday was the firing of GM Brian Burke, so that might put a wrench in things for the time being. Also, Ryan Kessler is still recovering from surgery, so he might be missing in action for the next several months. Back to you, Nicole.
Thanks, Neil. While the Canucks are getting more attention, so are some Vancouverites that got caught up in the Stanley Cup riot. But this time, it's for their acts of courage and bravery. Lynn Johnson caught up with 3 men who were not afraid to stand up to them.
It was a full house for the Vancouver Police Department Awards. People gathered to honor police officers and civilians for acts of bravery. Chris McClellan, Dean Seskin, and Robert McKay were awarded the VPD Certificate of Merit for their heroic actions during the Stanley Cup riots.
You know, there were many acts of bravery during the Stanley Cup riot where people put their lives at risk, saw something inherently wrong, and stepped in, very courageously. And those are stories, I think, that inspire all of us.
Robert McKay was trying to stop a crowd from smashing the windows at the Bay when the crowd charged him, pushing him to the ground, beating him. Chris and Dean braved the angry mob, coming to Robert's aid, protecting him until help arrived. The award is a bright spot coming from that terrible day.
It's a very high recognition that we received from the VPD, and I'm glad that Chris and Dean also received it as well.
I had to hear how many other people were getting such amazing awards, and to me, mine doesn't match up nearly as them. So to be standing on stage or even in the room with some of these people is a big deal.
I feel good. It's nice. It's always good to be recognized for something.
Beyond recognition, the 3 men say they have formed a great friendship.
We build friendships based on experiences, and this is built on something that's so strong that it doesn't matter how many years pass, we'll never forget it. I can never forget them. I can never forget this day, June 15th, and I'm really happy that we got together because these are really good people.
Good people who definitely deserve the honor. Lynn Johnson in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up next on BCIT Magazine, a local Burnaby business makes a pledge to the environment. Vancouver restaurants start prepping for the Dine Out Festival.
They say if you want a wish to come true, never tell anyone. But there is one wish that can make the difference between life and death. And this wish can only come true if you tell someone. Please, let your family know you want to be an organ donor.
Standby graphics, ready camera 1.
If you want to experience the fast-paced world of news,
today on BCIT Magazine, striking,
make magic on a movie set,
frame,
and action, or bring your creative ideas to life, BCIT's hands-on training will get you started. BCIT Television and Video Production. Your possibilities start here.
Welcome back. People on lower incomes can suffer from a lack of social interaction and confidence. Over the last 12 years, One Surrey Community Centre has worked to fill that need.
But now a new development in the neighborhood is forcing a popular community gathering place to close its doors. Nigel Haynes caught up with some of the people who could be shut out.
For these lower-income women, having a place to meet friends and connect with people who care is crucial. The Surrey Urban Mission has provided much-needed social interactions for dozens of people in the community.
The Surrey Urban Mission is home for a lot of people. We have lots of folks living in our community who live in poverty, people who are homeless, and often people are disconnected from family or friends because of distance or because things happen in life and we go one way and other people go another way. So for lots of folks it's about coming here and knowing that when you walk through the doors somebody knows your name and someone knows a little bit about your story.
The mission has been open for 12 years and acts as a community gathering place as well as a cold weather shelter for the homeless during the winter months. When the cold creeps in, these tables are packed away and replaced with beds. Recently, the mission found out it would be forced to close its doors after many attempts to relocate the center to an affordable location failed. Those who have come to depend on the center feel betrayed.
There's enough bureaucracy in the world and there's enough doors slammed in their faces. So this is a place where the door's never closed. It's always open.
The mission has until the end of January to move out, and Jonquil says that the residents of this neighborhood will not only be losing a critical resource, but also a group of friends.
Things that are tangible in terms of services that people receive will not be here, but it's the connections and the relationships that are really important to people that will also disappear. So it's pretty heartbreaking to think that that what's been built and the connections that have been made and the relationships might not be there for people. It's distressing.
Developments like the one behind me are pushing places like the Surrey Urban Mission out of the community, and pretty soon those in need of help might have nowhere left to go. Nigel Haynes in Surrey for BCIT Magazine.
For most people, their monthly routine doesn't include picketing and chanting, but as Francesca Fionda finds out, one group of protesters has been rallying for over 7 years.
Cuban 5 now! Free the Cuban 5 now! Justice for the 5 now! Justice for the 5 now!
Thank you very much.
This determined group has been hosting monthly rallies for over 7 years. For the most committed members, that can really add up.
How many protests I've been to, we've done 86 protests for the Cuban 5, and I think I missed maybe a couple for work, but I would say I've probably been to about 83 or 84 of them, yeah.
I've been to every monthly protest since 2006. So that's quite a few.
Noah and others in this group are trying to convince the American government to release 5 Cuban intelligence officers known as the Cuban 5. The men were charged with spying against the United States in 1998, but the group says the 5 were not given a fair trial.
Nelson Mandela wasn't released after 7 years of protesting. It took a lot longer to have that social justice fighter, that hero, freed from prison.
We're still not at the point where they're out of prison yet, but I think the international campaign and the support and the solidarity is growing, and we're definitely moving forward.
Free the Cuban 5! Free the Cuban 5!
Now! As long as the 5 are in prison, the devoted protesters say they're ready to keep fighting for years to come. Francesca Fionda in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
The Burnaby Board of Trade has created a website for local businesses that want to become more environmentally sustainable. My co-anchor Nicole Lobo has the story.
The Burnaby Board of Trade has created the Sustainability Pledge, an online resource with the goal of helping businesses reduce their carbon footprint.
We wanted to have some form of a program in place where we could engage principally Burnaby-based businesses, but engage those businesses in becoming more sustainable and showing other businesses how they too can become more sustainable. So in terms of the information that's contained in here, we can click into any one of these categories. So we'll click into the energy category. And you can see here a range of tips and links to resources to help businesses understand how they can improve their performance in the area of energy.
Holly North Production Supply specializes in film industry products, and they've taken the pledge by reducing consumption of energy and materials.
Simple things. We handle a bunch of little like natural cleaners. There's obviously other cleaners on the market, but these are a little bit more natural cleaners and environmentally responsible. There's a whole line of these ones that are actually marine products, so they're non-toxic, biodegradable, safe for use on the water. So they're safe for use in the house, on the set, pretty well anything.
This company is also taking it one step further by recycling styrofoam that would usually go straight to the landfill.
So now we're participating in a program with a company called Foam Only, and they actually crush this down, recycle it, and make things like the parking stoppers, you know, the little barriers that you see, and crown moldings for new houses and things like that by compressing this and making it into a different product.
Businesses in Burnaby can commit to sustainable actions by taking the pledge at bbotpledge.ca. Nicole Lobo in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
The annual Dine Out Vancouver is just around the corner. As my co-anchor Rup Dosanjh found out, this year it's not just about the food.
Foodies and event goers may find something to their taste as Vancouver prepares to celebrate the city's diverse restaurants.
So we have 240 restaurants this year versus 232 last year. We have 35 unique events which all have a culinary theme to them.
One restaurant is excited to be a part of Vancouver's largest celebration for food enthusiasts.
That lull right after Christmas is generally quite slow for restaurants, so it's always good to have something like this to build momentum. It's a great time of year and a great event to get people that may not have dined in your restaurant necessarily to come in and try out what you do.
Forage is one of 200 restaurants that is offering unique meal and event packages. Restaurants are remaining hopeful that diners will fill the seats.
It's a really busy time, but like a really fun time as well.
With so many event options, Lucas Pavan reminds everyone to not forget about the unlimited ways to enjoy the flavors of the city.
Well, the restaurants are always going to be a core focus of the Dine Out Vancouver Festival because it is a restaurant festival. The events allow us to market the festival as a destination event for visitors.
Dine Out runs from January 18th to February 3rd. For more information, visit dineoutvancouver.com. Rup Dosanjh in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
With Dine Out starting soon, it may be hard to keep up with those New Year's resolutions to stay healthy. Rup is joining us now from our studio downstairs with more on how to stay on track.
Thanks, Nicole. Joining me now is registered dietitian Nuni Paletta. She's here to talk to us about strategies for successful weight management. She has some handy tips on how to include healthy eating into your everyday life. Thanks for joining us today, Nuni.
Thank you for having me.
So are there any particular strategies that you find most useful?
There's certainly a lot of different strategies people can choose to lose and maintain weight, but perhaps the most effective one I've found is portion control.
And so there are two ways that you can control portions. Can you tell us more about those?
Sure. There's actually a lot more different ways a person can control their portions, but the ones that I brought here today are two that I find really easy and simple to follow. So the first one that I have is called the plate model. So here we have a standard dinner plate, probably not so different than one that you would use at home. Right. It's 11 inches in diameter. By simply using a smaller plate, which like this one here, which is 9 inches in diameter, a person can actually cut the amount of caloric intake by about 40%.
Okay, wow.
So it's quite significant.
Okay.
Yeah. The other method that I'd like to share is one that's really easy, and again, you don't need any special tools. And the reason is that what you use are your hands. So in order to use this method is you would look at the size of the palm of your hand. Okay. If you were measuring out, say, a piece of protein, right. So that would be beef, pork, fish, or chicken. You would look at the size of the palm of your hand, and that measures about 3 ounces.
Okay.
So for vegetarians, you could still use the palm of your hand to measure out a portion of tofu, or you could make a fist, and that would give you about a cup's worth of beans or lentils.
Oh, wow. Very easy to follow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for carbohydrates, you'd still want to use your fist. Again, that gives you a cup of something like pasta, rice, potatoes, noodles, maybe a small bun. And again, that would be the portion. And then you would want to round out your plate with lots and lots of vegetables.
Yes.
And to measure that out, you would put your palms together like this. That would give you about 2 cups of vegetables.
Okay.
And then you're good to go.
Okay, excellent. So if our viewers wanted to get more information, where could they go?
they could go to Dietitians of Canada, which is www.dietitians.ca.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us today, Noonie, and for all the useful information.
You're welcome.
For more information, please visit our website.
Just type in bcitbroadcastnews.ca.
Coming up next on BCIT Magazine, special portmanteau prices leave some people out. A wildlife rescue center sees a rise in animals.
They say if you want a wish to come true, never tell anyone. But there is one wish that can make the difference between life and death. And this wish can only come true if you tell someone. Please, let your family know you want to be an organ donor.
Standby graphics, ready, camera one.
If you want to experience the fast-paced world of news,
Today on BCIT Magazine, striking,
make magic on a movie set,
Frame.
And action.
or bring your creative ideas to life, BCIT's hands-on training will get you started. BCIT Television and Video Production. Your possibilities start here.
Oh, hey, if you want to find out what's happening in Vancouver this month, you'll have to keep up. My New Year's resolution is to bike everywhere, even in the rain. Mountain Equipment Co-op offers free bike maintenance lessons. You can go to their website to register. Their next free class is on January 11th. And if you have any spare blankets lying around, why don't you pack your bags and head out to the Donate a Blanket ride. It's happening on January 11th. Bikers will fill their bags with warm clothes and blankets and hand them out to people on the streets. And if you want to add a bit of a challenge to your bike ride, why not sign up for BC's largest and longest running triathlon at UBC? Early bird registration ends on January 31st. Well, that's it for this week's community calendar. I'm Francesca Fionda. Have a safe ride.
There is yet another debate surrounding the new Port Mann Bridge.
A discounted toll rate is available, but it turns out not everyone can cash in on the savings.
For these lower-income women, having a place to meet friends and connect with people who care is crucial. The Surrey
And we have 11 vehicles on the road every day.
Gerald Renberg and his partner Rob Curry have 11 vehicles in their fleet. In gas alone, they spend $4,000 a month. So when they heard about getting free trips across the Port Mann Bridge, they were hoping to get a break.
Well, we registered for TRIO to get our vehicles with the stickers to take advantage of the 20 free passes per vehicle. And at the time, I asked, how do I get my 20 free passes? The gentleman said, well, because you have more than 4 vehicles in your fleet, you're not eligible for any passes. And that was pretty upsetting.
The company drives all over the Lower Mainland, and employees spend a considerable amount of time in their vehicles. Renberg was looking forward to saving money with quicker trips across the new Port Mann Bridge.
There's lots of medium-sized companies that are in the same boat as us that have 5 or more vehicles in their fleet, and they too are ineligible for those passes. It's just not fair. Why are we, the medium-sized companies, expected to subsidize the individual users?
The Transportation Investment Corporation says fleets of 5 or more vehicles can get some introductory rates depending on the size of the vehicle. Small cars pay $1.50 and medium-sized ones $4.50 every time they cross the new bridge if they register before February 28th. But there are still no freebies and no discounts for bigger vehicles.
To extend this 20 free trips to these fleets would incur millions of dollars in additional costs, and that would mean that we would not be able to provide the $1.50 introductory rate.
Get us used to using that bridge and seeing the convenience of it. And then, we're going to use it then. But until that point, my guys are fully instructed to avoid it.
As for Renberg, he's not asking for a free ride, but just to be treated fairly. Neil Correa in Coquitlam for BCIT Magazine.
And for people taking transit, one of the busiest commuter hubs could be shutting down. Metrotown SkyTrain station may close for up to 15 months so construction crews can take over. TransLink says safety is its top priority right now. There isn't enough space on the platform to meet passenger demand. TransLink is still considering its options and will be looking for the public's input this year. Metrotown hasn't seen any upgrades since the SkyTrain was built in 1986. Since then, the neighborhood has seen massive growth.
Volunteers at a Burnaby wildlife shelter are working overtime as they try to deal with the record number of animals. Nigel Haynes met with the determined volunteers who are giving up their time to care for the animals.
I feel like Superman when I'm driving back with this poor little injured animal in my car, and I know I'm going to walk in and these guys are just going to take it on and deal with whatever they need to.
The hardworking volunteers at the Wildlife Rescue Association of BC have been putting in extra hours lately. The shelter saw record numbers of animals in 2012 with well over 4,000, a 22% increase over 2011 when it only treated about 3,200 animals. The shelter is home to many animals, like this injured pelican. It was recovered on Vancouver Island, part of a group of pelicans nesting there. The big birds normally spend the winter months in warmer climates like California, but this year the association says bad weather made migration difficult, leaving many birds stranded to nest here in the cold.
Winter stayed around for a long time last year, so it was very cold and it was very wet for a long time. So for wildlife parents raising their young, that's extra stresses on them.
And not only are there more injured birds, but increasingly people know where to take them for help.
More people know that we're out here, so they know their options when they do see wild or injured animals, or see injured or orphaned animals. They bring them to us.
Volunteers, meanwhile, will keep working around the clock to make sure these animals get the help that they need.
And I'm giving back, and I just think wildlife, we're in conflict all the time with wildlife, and somebody has to help them.
Sanctuaries like these, while empty for now, will soon be filled with birds and small animals, and the association is hopeful that it won't see an increase in the coming year. Nigel Haynes in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
If you have any questions or comments regarding this program, please visit us online at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca. I'm Rup Dosanjh.
And I'm Nicole Lobo, and that's today's BCIT Magazine. Thanks for watching. We leave you now with views of the new Port Mann Bridge.